Melissa of Bella Sunshine Designs here. Today I've got a great tutorial for you. I'm going to show you 2 ways that you can blend the waist of a pants pattern. Let's talk about how to blend the waist for a pant pattern that actually only has 2 pieces. You'll see this pattern is an actual full leg here, goes all the way down. Once again, I have shrunk this so that way we can fit it nicely on your screen. So it is not true to size, obviously. However, for the purpose of this tutorial, it will work. So what we want to do, there's 2 different ways you can do this. You can do it kind of the Vsd method of blending, which we do quite a bit. And I'll also show you the old school method. I actually, for pants, prefer the old school method, as pants can get really messed up in a hurry. And I don't want to have to true or do any more work than I have to do. But we're going to start out with doing the Vsd method. Let's say that we want to go from, say, a 10 hip to a 16 waist. Now, if you actually look with pants, everything should be like completely even. If you look, everything should be even. It would go right across here. You see how this would be level. If you actually come up here to where the pitch of the curve is, that is your hip line. Right here is where your hip measurement would be. Now, your waist is going to be up here. So let's say we wanted to go from a 10 to a 16. You would actually blend that. Now, if you notice, this is a straight line, straight line, straight line. So we're going to blend that into a 16. Straight up, same thing on the other side. Straight up. You want to make sure that you blend this in where it's a nice, pretty curve. We don't want any points. That's going to be your new crotch curve. 10 hip, 16 waist. Now, if you've ever sewn a pattern, a pants pattern that has not been trued here, you will know that they come to a point that is not easy to sew with, not proper technique. What we want to do is we actually want to true this. So you would need something that would be a right angle. See how I line it up with this side and make it square? You would want to do that for both your front and your back. And then re-blend this curve here, which if I had a little mini French curve, I could do that. This is the reason why I don't like this method, is a lot of times people are so concerned with getting the waist right, they forget to re-true this. And then you go to sew it, you cut out your fabric, and you're like, oh man. Not that you can't fix it afterwards, but you know, it's nice when everything just sews together perfectly. So here's another way to do that. For this one, I actually just cut out the 10. Straight 10 all the way around. We're gonna actually do this kind of the old school method. This is how my grandmother would have taught me. Blending would not have been something she would have liked. She wanted everything to be done kind of the technically correct way. Something I hated when I was 10. Now that I'm a designer, I really appreciate it because now I understand why you do things. So here, what you were going to do the same kind of thing. Let's mark our hip line. Right there is that crotch starts to curve. This is our hip. Now I'm going to separate this right down the middle. This will be at a right angle, and it doesn't have to be perfectly down the middle. You don't have to measure it. You can kind of eyeball it. But here we go. So we have our back, we have our front. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut this. Now, when you cut, you want to make sure to leave little hinges here. What do I mean by that? I mean, don't cut completely through this line. You don't want it to be 3 separate pieces. You want to keep it as one piece, and I'm going to show you why. We're going to cut down this side. Cut almost to the end. Again, almost to the end. Really, you're cutting to the seam line. And then on your seam allowance here on the other side, You can make another little bitty tiny snip that will let that pivot a little easier. Again, not cutting through that actual paper. If you do cut through it by accident, you can always tape it. But so here we go. We have it cut, and now we have these little pieces that can move. Now, let's say that you needed an extra 3 inches in this middle part. And we're going to assume that every single one of these squares represents an inch. Now, how do you know you need 3 inches? Well, let's say that the measurement chart shows the waist of the tin as being 6 inches smaller than your waist measurement. That's how you know you need 3. Now you're like, wait a second. You started with 6, how did you get 3? Well, you have to think about this pattern piece. This pattern piece represents half of your body. It's one whole leg, right? It's 1/2 of your waist. So that 6 divided by 2 equals 3. So whatever your measurement is for this particular kind of piece, you would take half. Now, if you were doing a bodice and the bodice represented 1/4 of your body, then you would take 1/4 of that. For this particular one, you're going to take 1/2 because this is half of the body. This is from the back of the crotch to the front of the crotch on one side. So if say you needed 3 inches, you can actually take this, and it's really great to do this on a cutting mat because you already have your measurements there. I like to line everything up so it's nice and even. And then you're going to spread this till you get 3 inches. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You see, you have 3 squares in between this. Now, take this pattern piece, tape it to another piece, and just reblend this line. So you just reblend it where it's nice and even, and then you have a brand new piece. Now, actually, if you look at this, take this pattern piece onto our blended piece. You'll see it's pretty close, right? It's really, really close. The only difference is with this, your rise is actually even with the tin, which you could actually blend it that way if you wanted to bring this line over and it would be closer. Me personally, I don't mind a little bit of extra rise, but you can see it's pretty close. So 2 different ways to blend the waist. Hope you enjoyed it. What'd you think of our tutorial today? Pretty easy, huh? Make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great videos.